Spirituality and a lot of aspects of spirituality are often seen as too good to be true. So I want to just do a little deconstruction of the idea of too good to be true. Now, my approach, the place that I come from with spirituality, is that we are spirits in a material world, as they say, and that our reality is as the spirit that we actually are. And that this life, as a human on earth, is exceptionally difficult because our separation from spirit is especially intense in this realm of being a human on earth. So therefore, things that we get little glimpses of in our spiritual work, or if we are working with psychedelics, for example, can really seem crazy if your assumptions are based on being a human on earth, that when you die, you're dead and that's it. I mean, from that standpoint, from the materialist standpoint, of course, the spiritual standpoint seems completely a matter of fantasy, wishful thinking, too good to be true. I get it. And anybody that wants to have that perspective, go for it, please do it. I used to want to convince people and get in debates about spirituality. Not that I never would again, but I'm really fine with, anybody not believing in consciousness existing outside of the body or the brain. That's fine, because either it's true or it's not, and like I like to say that, I think I'll do a video just on that subject, but that people who believe in the afterlife can never be proven wrong. And only people who believe there is no afterlife have a potential of being proven wrong. Now, let's say if there is no afterlife. If you die and that's it and you're dead. Well, if that's the case, there is no realm where these materialist non-believers can laugh at me for being wrong. But on the other hand, if I'm right, and there is life after death, reincarnation, all the rest, then I can be proven right, because after death, I could run into one of those people and say, see, I told you so. They'll never have that pleasure if they're right. So that's kind of fun to know. It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean they're wrong. But it's kind of fun. They can never prove me wrong. Only I can prove them wrong. Kind of cool. But back to the too good to be true. There's one issue where this too good to be true thing is absolutely correct, and that is around interpretation. And I've spoken about this before, but a lot of times we get a vision, we get a knowing, we get an understanding And the mind goes to work deciphering it. The actual intuition itself is kind of pure knowing, but it's not really words. But the mind fills in the words, and a lot of times it's a bad translation. It's like the old thing that Bill Hicks, the comedian, had a joke about people who were on LSD who thought they could fly, that kept jumping off of buildings, and it's actually not really happened that often. But his joke was like, good, I'm glad they died, they're stupid. If you can fly on LSD, why not just take off from the ground? And so there's this thing where we get a kind of inspiration. We get this knowing, I know I can fly. Yeah, the real you, your spirit, can definitely fly. But your physical body can't. And if it can, please take off from the ground, And so it's like a lot of times we will have a knowing, like, oh, I know I'm one with everything and I can feel my connection to Source or God or Jesus or whatever. And then the mind turns it into, I'm the reincarnation of Jesus, or I am God's chosen person on earth, or whatever, right? And we're like, but I know it's true because I had the vision. Yeah, you had the vision, you had the knowing, but you didn't interpret it correctly, in my view. You were a little ungrounded. You went off the reservation. And so it's like, what you need to understand is that the interpretation of a lot of these moments of enlightenment is really wrong, is really off. But the moment of enlightenment, that energy is correct. So this whole thing of too good to be true, it absolutely does apply to the way a lot of people translate their spiritual epiphanies into words. Absolutely. There's a lot of bullshit out there. I agree. And the thing is, the epiphany is its own thing. The description of the epiphany, the saying what it means and all of that, that's another thing. That's another step away from the energy. But the thing is, this knowledge, like I can fly, yeah, as a soul you can totally fly. As a soul you can time travel, bilocate, all this stuff. But as a human, you probably can't. But then again, as you ascend, and ascend, it doesn't mean you're going anywhere, and it doesn't mean you're levitating. It really means that you're incorporating more of what you are into your identity, into just where you come from as a person. So I had a teacher who was very enlightened and who was giving the enlightened perspective, if I may call it that. He would not. But somebody challenged him and said, well, if you're everything, if you're one with everything, why can't you fly like a bird? And he, coming from a place of oneness, said, I am a bird. It's like the human thing that you're looking at cannot fly. But there are countless bird things out there that can. And that's me too. It's like when you're one with everything, you can tune into everything, you can have the experience of everything, but if you interpret it incorrectly, then you bring it back to some sense of grandiosity that you, in your human body, with your ego and your limited knowledge and all of that, can do these things. It's not about that. It's about allowing your human identity to sit there being what it is and being identified as something higher, and allowing that to inform the human identity, but not go overboard with the I can fly, or, I'm Jesus's designated representative on earth. And if you are, congratulations, that's awesome. Not trying to take anything away from you, but there are a lot of people out there that just, have lost their grounding a little bit. And so what I'm saying is that, number one, be grounded. Understand that there are epiphanies that can be translated incorrectly into words. But number two, realize this idea of something being too good to be true in an infinite universe where you exist beyond the body. I would say nothing is too good to be true. So, as with all of these kind of spiritual truths, you kind of have to see that both of the opposites are true simultaneously to find that sweet spot in the middle. So don't let the idea of too good to be true ruin your spiritual process. And on the other hand, don't go wild with a lot of delusional thinking because you took some mushrooms and felt that you could merge into the wall, and now you're frustrated that you can't do that, or fly, or whatever your thing is. And remember, as Bill Hicks said, if you can fly, just take off from the ground. Okay? And take off from the ground is some pretty wise counsel. Be grounded. Grounding is essential to any spirituality that really means anything. So anyway, just some thoughts here on a Wednesday afternoon. Thanks so much for watching. For more information, you can check out my website, andysway.com. Thank you very much. Bye.